העולם אשר קידשנו במצוותיו וציוונו לעשות בדברי Torah. I'm going to begin with a very painful announcement that our fellow community member, Karen Sarachik's mother, died, and the funeral is going to be Sunday morning, 8:30 Pacific time in New York. If anyone is interested in joining the video, the Zoom of the funeral, please just send me a note and I will send you the Zoom link, okay? So, but don't send it in chat. Send it to me as an email, please. And Karen's mother was a brilliant, not less than that, brilliant physicist who this year in the United States won the national award as the outstanding physicist in our country. So an incredible woman. In any event, her mother's name is Miriam M.Y. R.I.A.M. Sarachik. And the funeral is 8:30 tomorrow morning. If you would like the link, please just be in touch with me. And we'll all hopefully welcome Karen back very soon. For our calendar, Saturday evening, tonight, I guess, 7:30 p.m., Jim Ruxin is the shoplifter. And Jim, just a comment on the movie, we'll move on.
It's just a fascinating meditation without being too serious on what is the meaning of a family. A group of unrelated people function together like a family. You'll recognize the parts, you'll recognize them when they work together as a whole. Full range of emotions, love, estrangement, sadness, happiness, joy. Really a beautiful, modest film. It's not short, but if you start it, I bet you can't finish it. You won't be able to stop.
Okay, that's beautiful. That's 7:30 tonight. I have, is there anything else on calendar besides my next point? Anything else?
Where is the movie showing? Which?
I believe it's on Amazon Prime.
Prime. Thank you.
Yeah. If you click on the Wilshire Boulevard Temple home email from yesterday and click register under Film Society, it'll tell you all you need to know.
What's the name of the movie?
The
Shoplifters.
Shoplifter. I am going to take a mild diversion from our usual work today because every once in a while something happens in the Jewish community that struggles to make me feel optimistic. You know, something really good, and I have to fight against all that good news. But there really is a strange, beautiful thing that happened. I found this in the Pittsburgh Anglo-Jewish newspaper. You all know what a Chevra Kaddish is. A Chevra Kaddish, a holy society, is a sacred community of individuals who volunteer to care for, ritually wash, bless, and prepare a body for a funeral. And it is an ancient tradition in Judaism. In our country, it is something which is automatic within, you're not Kevin, wait a second, I see Kevin Cohen, and that's not Kevin Cohen.
It's his better half.
Yeah, it looks much better now. The Chevra Kaddish is universally observed within the Orthodox community, just about universally, widely observed in the conservative community, not observed with great frequency in the Reform community. In my congregation in Atlanta, we had a Chevra Kaddish, and it was available for free for many members. And these people, by the way, it's been going on there now for more than 20 years. They're doing a great job. Point. Over the past 18 months, Chevra Kaddishas couldn't function. They couldn't come together to physically wash the bodies. And for a matter of pikuach nefesh, for protecting human life, blessings were offered, but the ritual washing was not done. Here's the comment. Between March 15, 2020, June 21, the group, when it resumed practice, more than 100 funerals had occurred in Pittsburgh over that span, in which the Chevra Kaddish could not function. So they did their rituals, they did their blessings. On October 3rd, 2021, the Chevra Kaddish in Pittsburgh went out to the Jewish cemetery. Standing side by side, they recited the appropriate biblical and Talmudic passages, Hebrew prayers, recited the names of the deceased, and on top of each of the graves, symbolically poured water on each of the graves. Poured water on each of the graves. And then at each grave, they offered a public apology. And they said, we, the Chevra Kaddish, ask you forgiveness for departure from traditional practices. We pour this water on your grave as a tikkun, as a repair and a completion and a final act. And then, of course, they recited Kaddish. That's it. To me, it was an incredibly beautiful, spiritual, appropriate, lovely, good thing to have done. And every once in a while, not that often, when something so lovely occurs, I wanted to share it with you. I just wanted to share it with you. It's just one of the things they say about the Chevra Kaddish, caring for the deceased is one of the greatest mitzvot of all, because it's one of those mitzvot that can never be repaid. The deceased cannot return the favor. You are doing something because it's right, not because of any other reason. So that's it. I wanted to share that with you. We're going to go on now to Noah. And this year, at popular request, I will not be singing. And the Lord said to Noah, there's going to be a flood. I am not going to sing that this year because a number of people grew physically ill last year from the experience. Now, we're going to start with Genesis chapter 9, verse 8 and following. On the Plout, in the Plout, it's page 65. In the Women of Reformed Judaism commentary, it's 45. And I'm happy to be able to do this because so rarely this occurs. A couple of people came up to me after services last night and said, I hope you're going to talk about Noah being naked and his kids coming in to see him. And, okay, popular request, I am going to turn to what I was going to probably look at anyway, page 45. And we're going to back up just a little bit. Verse 8, God said to Noah and his sons, as for me, va'ani, as for me, I am going to establish my covenant with you and with your descendants after you. We're just coming forward. Now, ladies and gentlemen, who can tell me what the 7 Noachide laws are talking about? Not to list each law, but what is the 7 laws of Noah? What is that category? Does anyone know? Any thought? Any individual? I see, Effie.
It's what everybody in the world besides Jews should obey, and it's a sort of a subset of our 10 commandments.
Well, you're 100% correct. It's not really a subset of 10, but you're right, Effie. You are right. According to Jewish textual tradition, there are universal laws which apply to every human being on earth, no matter what your religious affiliation or lack of same. These laws are called the 7 laws of Noah, or Noachide, Noachide. If you Google Noachide, you'll pick it up. You'll get the full story. You'll get the 7 laws. The interesting thing is that these 7 laws are not found in our Sedra. The interesting thing is that the rabbis derived these laws from the first Sedra, from Breshit, with one exception of one law that appears in the Sedra Noach. So you ask me, wait a second, why don't they call them the 7 Adamite laws? They weren't given at the time of Noah. They were given before. So why are these universal laws everyone is expected to do? Don't murder. Don't commit idolatry. Don't commit sexual offenses. Don't be cruel to animals. Set up courts of law. These are the baseline expectations for every human being. And though no non-Jew will ever be judged for violating the Sabbath, everyone will be judged for violating one of the 7 Noachide laws. What was missing in Breshit is found in our verse here. As for me, I am going to establish my covenant with you. No laws can be binding unless they are accompanied by covenant. There has to be an arrangement by which people say, yeah, I'm with that, and God says, this is what you do, that's what's there. This is controversial. Anyone want to pick up why? I've given you the standard reasons. Why is it controversial? All right. Brit Milah, the covenant of circumcision. How is that a problem here? How is that a problem?
Women can't be circumcised?
Pardon?
Women can't be circumcised?
Well, that's okay. They're just women. No, yeah, well, first of all, it's gender exclusive. But that covenant, which in the Reform and conservative communities today, we now have Brit Bat the covenant for a daughter. We have that. The child doesn't agree to anything. The child doesn't agree. Barbara's smiling. Yes, that's right. The child doesn't agree. You have a brit, a covenant, which is imposed on the child. And the rabbis walk around this by saying the parents are empowered to commit for the kid. Okay, there's a second problem here. There's a second problem. Who is obligated by the 7 laws of Noah? Who? Come on.
Everyone.
Pardon?
Everyone.
Everybody. Who is agreeing to this covenant? Well, it's Noah on behalf of everybody to come. When some of our wise ass, no, I shouldn't say that. Some of our brilliant teenagers study, for example, with me in my confirmation class, the 10th graders, and I talk with great eloquence and passion about the covenant that was established at Sinai. And they say, I wasn't there. I'm not bound. Why does this mean me? And frankly, you know, pig meat can't be all that bad for you. And the covenant at Sinai, the rabbis had to invent a legal fiction. And what was that? Who was standing at Sinai? Well, Effie's doing everything today, and that's fine. You've been right way too often. Who's standing at Sinai? Who's there? Effie.
All of us.
Everybody.
Wait, Cindy's hand finally got up. Okay.
Everyone,
Everybody.
present and future.
Jew and Jew to be. Everybody, every Jew who ever was standing at Sinai. So that takes care of that problem.
If
Steve,
someone converts to Judaism, were they at Sinai prior to conversion?
were they at Sinai? Everyone at Sinai, every Jew ever to be born, every person ever to connect to Judaism was there, according to rabbinic teaching. They were there, yes, Steve.
But were they there retroactively? Earlier in their lives, would they have been deemed to be there?
When I would deal with conversion classes, I actually still do, I share with them the rabbinic notion that though they are taking on the covenant themselves now, they actually, according to rabbinic tradition, have always been a part of the community.
Okay.
And they understand it for what it is. It's metaphor. It's an image. But this is something, if you will, you were destined for. Penina.
To unmute. Okay.
You muted yourself again.
Is it okay now? Okay.
Yes.
My question is, where is the sentence, כבד את אביך ואת אמך fits in this whole thing? Honor your father and your mother. And where is also, how is the sentence not to insult somebody or entice somebody else to insult another person or disrespect your elderlies? How is those two things fits with Sheva mitzvot Noach? How does it?
Okay. First of all, the most important law in the Torah is to show respect to the elderly. How did I come to choose that? Actually, that's my statement, no one else's, but I'd like to impose it upon you. There are many things not there. Many things that, I mean, look, v'ahavta l'reacha kamocha, love your neighbor as yourself, is not there. There are a whole bunch of things not there. But these are considered to be, you can't have civilization without it. Now,
But this is what happened with Noach. First of all, his son did not respect him. Second of all, he enticed also the two brothers who said no and went and covered him. So
but we're
those
gonna
two things
go
involved with Noach, and
Yeah.
so
if we had to draw up a list, Penina, of the key elements in Western society, civilization, what do we really need besides honor the elderly, which would be at the top? I think we'd all come up with an interesting group of laws. This is poetic metaphor. It is a statement that civilization cannot survive without certain basic commitments. Okay, we can negotiate which ones, but when somebody commits sexual assault, I am pretty comfortable in saying, no, I don't care what your tradition is, I don't care what your background is, no.
okay.
Murder, no. I'm glad that they included cruelty to animals, no, which is a broad category, meaning it's not just animals. You got to care for the world in which you live, etc. So we're going to go on just because it's fun and this is stuff we haven't done ever before. I'm going to establish my brit, my covenant with you and with your descendants after you. And then verse 10. And with every living being in your care, birds, beasts, all the animals, all who have come out of the ark, all earth's animals. By the way, Kevin, I missed your comment, and now I remember you put in a comment. Please share it with us.
There's a little piano in the background. I hope you don't mind. But why do we think we're better than the animals when the covenant is with us and the animals? And how is the covenant with the animals?
The covenant here says with every living being. And again, if we go off of the literal, God sees human beings as part of life. And we are all bound together. I have to tell you, I really like this. In this particular one, it doesn't say, and you are better than the animals. It is saying, I am establishing this covenant with every living critter.
Yeah, so if we're the Jewish people and we're the holy people, where are the holy cows?
Who's playing the piano?
Where does the Jewish people what?
I was just saying we're the descendants of Noah. We're holy because God created us holy. And then the cows that came off the ark are the holy cows. I'm saying where are the holy cows?
Did you get up on the wrong? No, I don't know about holy cows. I am not altogether Hindu, but why am I offended? Besides being a strange person, why am I offended when I see people being cruel to animals? Why am I offended? Why does it really bother me? Because I see in those animals the same blood that makes me work, makes them work, all creatures. I do my walk, I go out on the Venice Pier where it's a long walk, folks. It's an hour walk from here and back. It's a good walk. So I go out there and there are a lot of fishermen. And there are some fishermen who exercise care in taking the fish off the hook and throwing back small ones and just a couple of days ago, I saw a guy take up a pretty good sized fish, take it off the hook, and throw it on the ground. Why do I remember such things? Why do I care? Okay, I'm strange, but it's wrong. He's in the process of killing the animal. Can't you at least show a little bit of caring? Native Americans have a tradition, I have been told, of apologizing to buffalo before or after they have killed them. There's a sense of concern. We are all connected. We are all living creatures. I don't want to go into a whole big thing. I really believe this. I really, really believe that we are not superior to other life forms. We are part of a community of life. It's a conversation worthy, Kevin, of a cup of coffee, and we can do that. We can absolutely do that. I've just invited myself. I am establishing my covenant with you. Never again shall all flesh be cut off by the waters of the flood. Never again shall there be a flood to destroy the earth. Talk to me about that promise from God. What do you see here? What do you see in this promise, this great, well-known promise? What's here? What's being promised? Steve.
I think there's a little bit of regret because God is essentially reacting to how people are treating one another and depriving them of free will. And now he's saying, yeah, I'm going to let you start over. Maybe I should have done this before, but your future is now in your hands, not mine.
Comments? Any other comments? Please, please, Harvey.
Isn't this like a contract, a covenant? Here we have to do something, but on the other side of the contract, God is saying we're not going to have another big flood that wipes out the earth. So those are the two pieces of the contract. Tell me if I'm wrong.
I always will tell you when you're wrong, but you're not. This is, yes, it's a contract. It's an agreement. It's two-way. If you go back in verse 9:7, right before it, God says to Noah and so forth, Peru urvu, be fruitful and multiply. God says you have biological descendants, and I, God, will guarantee life will survive. You have the kids, and talking to make Kevin happy, talking to the cows as well as to the people. You have kids, and I will make certain that the earth will never again be destroyed by a flood. Interesting in 9:7. And when you talk about the separation between animals and people, there is a Hebrew word here that grabs me every time I read it. Va'atem, and you, Peru urvu, a very famous quote. Learn it by heart, throw it into conversations. Peru urvu, when your children are 28 and not dating, Peru urvu, you're supposed to produce grandchildren for me. Get out there and do your work. Peru urvu, okay. Be fruitful and multiply, okay? And the next word is stunning in the Hebrew, stunning. Shirtzu va'aretz ura'uva. The English translates it, populate the earth. Oh, is that clean? Effie, what does yours say?
Swarm in the earth and multiply therein.
Swarm. Who swarms? Animals. Shirtsu. It's a term of, yeah, I mean, animals do that. They swarm, they all kinds of stuff. You don't use that to describe what human beings do when we have children. It does here.
It does when we're in Egypt, we're described that way.
The people in Egypt were described by Pharaoh as multiplying like animals. And here God uses the very same term, Steve, to describe what human beings need to do along with the animals. We are required to supply biological continuity. Why? Why, folks? Why is that the first mitzvah in the Torah? Why? Why? Looking for a few other people to participate because I'm feeling lonely out here. Why? Why is there? Howard, are you going to say something? No. Okay. All right. Why? Penina, short answer. Why?
There is a dependency. We need each other. People need the animals, and animals need the people
But
in a
more
certain conditions.
More than that. More than that.
It's life. It's a part of life. They were all created at the same time, and there was always that connection.
God needs us. Kevin, please.
Well, I don't see our part of the covenant, but yes, God needs us to worship him and wants more people to worship him. But where is our part of the covenant besides being fertile?
But the being fruitful, Kevin, is critical for the divine experiment. God created the world, the rabbis will say over and over again, not to be empty did God create the world. In other words, if we don't maintain biological continuity, if the animals are not allowed to be animals doing their animal thing, if people cease, the divine experiment fails. Our obligation in this is to validate the worth of God's creative effort. Wow, I just said something I wish I'd preached about, but I like that. So I'm going to write it down, and in my next incarnation, I will deliver that sermon. I like that. God's creation is meaningless if there are not people, not just to worship God, but to do the things that God implanted within us the capacity to do. Think about that. We have within our hands the capacity to deny God's experiment. We can shut it down, cut off federal funding. No more federal funding for Earth. It's over. No more value to creation. Mara, it's a Mara. When you guys are shoulder to shoulder, I have to see from whom the hand arises. Okay, I'm sorry.
I have a problem with that because there are plenty of people in this world who seek to fulfill being fruitful and multiplying and are unable to. So it seems to me that God does not fulfill that end of the covenant.
If you are among those who make life possible, I think, Mara, that proper disagreement eases. There are people I mean, I would give, include religious people in the Catholic Church who'd never marry, whatever. People who can't have children, people who choose not to have children, people, whatever.
Maybe that's when the adoption laws came out.
I can't walk away from Mara's comment and treat it in any way lightly. Okay? I really hear you. The rabbis, I think, would respond somewhat the way I feebly tried to. If you are a life-affirming, life-protecting human being, if because of your life, continuity of existence is made a little bit better, then I cannot see any separation here. I see it as the same. Penina was saying, of course, adoption. That would fit into making life possible. Making life possible. But I want you to know that I heard your question, not just observed it. That's a powerful, powerful question.
Thank you.
No, thank you for the integrity that went into the question. Now, stop being nice to me today. This is not a good day. I don't, the sun is shining. It's nice. Okay, so isn't it fascinating how this mythological description of a flood and a promise and a covenant and all that opens up questions which touch us to the very core of our beings. That's why Genesis survived. That's why Genesis survived. Effie and I may disagree as to how it came to be written, but we don't disagree about the power of the text. It's there. Effie, I want you to nod. Yes, you agree with me. Thank you. I need that. I need feedback. Okay. So the first commandment, get out there, make life possible, all of life, populate the earth, increase in it, because there is no covenant if there is no life. There is no creation if there is no life. There is no experiment by God with us if there is no life. Okay, I am establishing my covenant with you. Never again shall all flesh be cut off by the waters of the flood. Never again shall there be a flood to destroy the earth. Yes, yes. Sforno, one of the great, and Joanne, I'll get to you, one of the great commentators, Sforno, reads this passage and sees it as conditional. Sforno says, I believe that God knows human nature, and all of these promises are contingent upon human behavior. So when we just read, God promises no more flood, no more destruction of all flesh, Sforno, alone among the commentators, the big guys, says this is conditional. And God will not save us from ourselves. The fact that Sforno stands up on his hind legs and says, don't assume this is a blanket promise, in contradistinction to the scholars who preceded him. Fascinating. Steve Miller.
I don't see the condition. I think there's a big difference. In fact, it's consistent for God not to intervene and prevent us from destroying ourselves. That's very different than God actively destroying us. And so I'm not sure if his condition really is that God won't intervene to save us. That's not really a different position. It's still our free will, whether we survive or not, without God dictating the result.
Ibn Ezra will follow along with what you're saying and say, I am establishing my covenant, never again. The Hebrew says, V'lo yikaret kol basar od. Ibn Ezra picks up on the call. I promise that I will never again destroy all flesh. This is where conditionality comes from. And this is where the indication that God in no way will protect us from the destruction we visit upon ourselves. So God is saying, according to Ibn, it's really fun when we talk about the covenant and the rainbow in the Sunday school classrooms. God is protecting us, all is well, sleep well, have no nightmares. That's not what the text really says. You want to destroy, you will be among those who will be punished by God. That is to say, you will be destroyed. You want to preserve life, cool. You and me were in covenant. God had language issues. I should have said you and I, but we're okay. So the rainbow covenant does not protect us from the evil that we bring upon ourselves. Howard. Oh, Joanne. I had promised Joanne and then forgotten. Howard after Joanne, please.
Yeah, I was just going to say, and now we find ourselves pushing up against overpopulation and destroying the climate.
Why am I laughing? Well, you know, I laugh. I gave a sermon once when Risa and I had 2 children and said, by the way, elegantly, with beautiful language, with great gestures, I said, 2.3 is replacement. 2.3. And I know that the earth is multiplying in numbers and we could be destroying ourselves with overpopulation. And I said, with great wisdom, powerful influence, the pulpit, I said, I exempt the Jewish people from this limit. We should have 3 children until we replace the losses of the Shoah. I did that. So, Oneg Shabbat, people come up, Teresa, are you pregnant? Shortly thereafter, she was. That sermon yielded Aviva. You got to be careful what you say in public. In any event, Kevin, I am well aware of overpopulation and the fact that Earth cannot sustain more and more. How do we maximize resources so we can feed more, but then more people? You have better health, more people survive. It's a problem. It is that. And I fully sympathize with that position. But I can't bring myself to say that to Jewish people. And it's me. And you know the reasons. I am unfaithful to my environmental concern. by saying that if Jews decide not to have, just on that basis, certain number of kids, I think we have an obligation to survive as a group as well. And that makes me a hypocrite. And I accept that. Howard?
I feel like I wanted to go back to this discussion about God is promising that there'll never be another flood, but actually we have to extend our concept of God for it to be meaningful, to say that God is not, it's conditional, and if we behave wickedly, God will still punish us. I need to really extend my concept of God to the fact that if we don't behave wickedly, I'm not saying I don't behave wickedly, but hypothetically, if I didn't behave wickedly for someone, that they still get punished. We see that all the time, including not just adults, but children and innocent people. It's just a fact. And if I can't adhere to the concept of a God that doesn't have a bad side. And it isn't just that we don't understand what he's doing, but that he's just arbitrary, and because that's the way the world is. That's the way I feel.
And Howard, thank you. I have to move between struggling with the text as the rabbis have done, as we do every week, and then asking me specifically, non-metaphorically, what do I believe? Those are different things. I can talk, the rabbis talk. I can talk Ibn Ezra and Sforno and Rashi and Rambam and Ramban and all those good guys. I do not believe that God singles out people for punishment or reward, for life or for death. Period. Short paragraph. One conversation is the conversation about how Jewish tradition views it. Another conversation is, and how do you respond to the tradition? I can say to you non-metaphorically that when we bring destruction upon ourselves, it is our action made possible by the nature of the world within which we live. I believe that in some way there is a force larger than ourselves that brought this universe into being. It is governed by law. There's moral law, there's natural law. Violations have consequences. Is that God doing it? No, I don't believe that. I've dealt with too many kids who suffered and died over the course of my career, or people who unfairly fill in the blank. I believe that we live in a universe in which there are consequences to actions. Whether it's jumping out of a window, oh, gravity. Yep, there it is. Oops, I just bounced. If that happens, when you treat people in a certain way, there will be consequences. How they play out, I can't tell you, but there will be consequences. Push me, Howard. Ask another question. Go ahead, push. And then Marina.
I mean, that just about covers it, really. I think what you're saying is similar to my idea, my thought that there's that this idea of reward and punishment as an ironclad thing, it just, it makes some people who believe it very happy, although maybe it has bad side effects on them too, but I just can't adhere to it. It just doesn't make sense to me. The universe has got a lot less determinism, moral determinism in it, and a lot of it is just luck.
There is that, and I will still adhere to moral determinism, but not universal, not 100%, because sometimes the mafia gangsters die quietly in their beds, right? Even though they took care of their mothers. Yes. Okay, I'm sorry, Marina, yes.
I keep thinking that this increase and multiply command also gives an impetus to those who deny people a choice in their reproductive rights. So the abortion laws and so on. This statement is behind a lot of zealots, and it bothers me.
Yeah. Nothing is as clear cut as any of us want it to be. Boy, is that another conversation. Be a great sisterhood conversation. Reproductive rights and a variety of Jewish views. It's not cut and dry. There are differing rabbinic opinions on abortion, on the whole notion of women's choice. All that I ask is that this is something which government should step out of and allow women to make choice. That's not a complete answer. I just am unwilling to dive deeply today. But what's going on in Texas is abhorrent to me. It's abhorrent to me.
Agree with you, Rabbi. That's
I'm
Donna.
sorry.
That's Donna. Good morning, Shabbat Shalom. I agree with you.
So, okay, I saw Panina, a hand up. And then Mara. Not hearing you.
Okay now?
Yes.
Okay. It's not just against women, because the Bible also says that homosexuality is not favorable. They say lo mishkav zachar, because you're not supposed to waste your seed for nothing. So that's like a mitzvah that a part of the mitzvah of pur. So homosexuality is literally no in the Bible. Lo yeh mishkav zachar, no man with man. And because of that you waste your seed. So the favorable there is life, to encourage life. So what people do with their own choices, this is something that it's not controllable. So therefore you cannot look for a law in the Bible of things that were developed privately, or private choices that you choose, whatever you choose to do. So, but there is a law of not wasting your seed.
Right. What I would like to, boy, this is again, do you see why these sections are so powerful?
Yeah, I think that the whole Torah is,
biblical quotes have been used for the most awful of reasons.
Okay.
In our Sedra, we're not going to be able to get to Noah and his kids unless you want to do an extra session on sodomizing your father.
That's a no-no.
That's
Ham, but Ham, if you look at verse 24, I'm having trouble seeing, actually it's 25. The text says that Ham saw his father's nakedness. The rabbis connect Canaan, Ham's son, with the possibility that he sodomized his grandfather. Their debate is whether Ham did the deed or his son did the deed. And of course, not everyone agrees that the text says that's what happened, but it is a thought line in the commentaries. Look at verse 25. Noah says about his grandson, damned be Canaan, Ham's son. To his brothers he shall be the basest of slaves. Ladies and gentlemen, Ham is traditionally regarded as the progenitor of the African nations, as well as of the Canaanites. Japhet is the progenitor of the Europeans. Shem is the progenitor of the Shemites, the Semites. This verse 25, was used throughout the period of slavery in the United States to prove that Africans should be slaves. That verse was quoted in pulpits all across the South. They were destined by God to be slaves. It says so in the Torah. So I'm going to go back as our class winds to a difficult end. Wow. That whether it's a verse about abortion or slavery or the value of other nations or the place of women, biblical verses have been used and abused in the most horrible ways. If we're going to be serious students of Torah, wow, how did we get here? We have to be willing to understand what those verses meant, how they arose in their day, and most importantly, how Jewish tradition turned them upside down by interpretation and created out of them lessons by which we are happy to live. I have to stop now. Wow. Wow. Thank you for today, Barbara Levin. It's good to see you always. And
may I interject one thing on that great ending? And that is, we're going to have a film called Jewish Soldiers in Blue and Gray very soon with Jonathan Sarna on October 27th. And we will address exactly this problem of how Jews justified slavery during the Civil War.
you owe me $5.
Happily pay you. Thanks for the entree.
Shabbat Shalom, everybody. Love you.
Shabbat Shalom. Shabbat Shalom.
Thank you.
Kaddish.
Oh,
Shabbat shalom.
oh,
Kaddish. Oh,
those who have passed away during the past month. Frank Barnes, Sandy Chatkin, June Clayman, Ruth Davidson, Seema Gapsky, Gloria Gold, Winnie Kaltman, Cynthia Levine, John McNichol, Mary Marina, Howard Flug, Deborah Regal, Ron Solomons, Stephen Weiner. Yard sites that occurred during the past week: Michael Abelson, Cliff Ackerman, Arthur Adler, Robin Amernick, Mel Baumwall, Richard Benfield, Daniel Blatt, Norman Bloom, Leonard Boasberg, Richard Bookman, Mae Brussel, Morris Carr, Erwin Carson, Max Cohn, Ronald Cohn, Dixie Dan, Jerry Diener, Gene Weissman Dreisen, Max Edelstein, Michael Eport, Samuel Fine, Muriel Feinstein, Gerald Fields, Max Firestein, Harvey Lawrence Flax, Frank Freeman, David Freed, Ramon Gerson, Rose Gleifenbein, Donald Goldman, Barbara Gordon, Monty Gordon, Eleanor Greenberg, Gert Greenspoon, Sally Groman, Sidney Guthman, Max Hartfield, Milton Hoffman, Norman Hoffman, Jackie Holden, Dora Immergluck, Ruth Jacobs, Helen Judah, Elise Kahn, Beverly Bissell Kalish, Francis Kalin, Florence Katz, Jean Knight, Arnold Kopelson, Ida Coppell, Meyer Koslow, Melvin Kramer, Eleanor Kruger, Sylvia Lackman, Arthur Laub, Grace Lixanata, Mike Lisak, Harvey Levitch, Irving Levinson, Lillian Lewis, Herbert Lindenbaum, Bernard Lurie, Roberta Marchus, Minnie Meadow, Lillian Morini, Leo Miller, Richard Bruce Motley, Aaron Moyer, John Nearai, Ian Nygaard, Meyer Orlikoff, Cynthia Perlman, Barbara Platt, Joe Pollack, Alan Portnoy, Nematola Poratian, Sam Prell, Sheldon Prescott, Eli Rabin, Francis Rosenfield, Cynthia Rosenwald, Marvin Rose, Jeff Rothberg, Irving Saltzman, Norman Skadron, Irving Schoenfeld, Ludmilla Schultz, Dorothy Schwartz, Herbert Searman, Joyce Lynn Schaefer, Simon Sherman, Rose Seekoff, Hannah Silverstein, Sarah Sinderoff, Melvin Singer, Molly Singer, Florence Smith, Edna Hazel Stearns, Jean Friel Sturman, Joseph Tuchin, Julius Union, Felicia Weber, Samuel Weber, Betty Wechter, Thelma Yeskel. I apologize to those family members and friends whose names I might have inadvertently mispronounced. We add the names of all of those precious to us whom we remember at this time as we recite Kaddish together. Yitkadal, Yitkadash, Shemei Rabbah. Yalmad Bachi Rutev Yamlich Malute. V'chaye Chonum Yom Echon. V'chaye Dechol Beit Yisrael. Ba'agala Vizman Koriv. Hebrew. Amen. Yehi Shmei Rabbah. Yom Le'omel Maya. V'yishtabach. V'yitpa'ar. V'yitromam. V'yitnaseh. V'yitadar. V'yitalev. V'yitalal Shmei Dekudisha. Richu. Ela min kol birchata v'shirata. Ushpachata v'nechamata. Damiran v'alma v'imru amen. Yehi shlama rabba shmai. V'chayim aleinu v'al kol Yisrael. Amen. Oseh shalom. Hu ya'aseh shalom. Aleinu v'al kol Yisrael. Amen. Shabbat shalom, everybody.
Shalom.
Shabbat shalom.
It was, wow, Thank you. Thank you very much.
Shabbat
Thank
shalom.
you.
Shabbat
Everybody have a great
shalom.
day. Hi, Suzette. Looking beautiful. Suzette, hello. Shalom. We met at the ladies' Seder, a ladies' luncheon rather. Sisterhood. Shabbat shalom, everybody. Love you.
Shabbat shalom.
Be safer than ever before. See you next time. Bye.